former foreign policy advisor to Trump, or national security expert, whatever the hell his title was, John Bolton. He's out with a new book, and here are just some of the juicy claims that he made, and then we'll discuss. Bolton attributes a litany of shocking statements to the president. Trump said invading Venezuela would be, quote, cool, and that the South American nation was really part of the United States. Bolton says Trump kept confusing the current and former presidents of Afghanistan while asking Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to help him strike a deal with Iran. And Trump told Xi that Americans were clamoring for him to change the constitutional rules to serve more than 2 terms, according to the book. He also describes a summer 2019 meeting in New Jersey where Trump says journalists should be jailed, so they have to divulge their sources. Quote, these people should be executed. They are scumbags, Trump said, according to Bolton's account. Okay, so let's take these claims one by one here. Let's go to the top. Trump said that invading Venezuela would be cool, and that the South American nation was really part of the United States. Listen, I know that this is unpopular to say at the moment because everybody's having their, anti-Trump orgy at the moment, and they're like loving every second of this goofy book, but John Bolton is literally one of the least trustworthy men in America. I trust John Bolton even less than I trust Donald Trump, and I don't trust Donald Trump at all. So understand who this guy is, just so everybody understands. He's a Bush-era psychopathic war criminal with blood on his hands. None of that is an exaggeration. That is all true. And the crazy thing is, on the Democratic side, people used to understand that this guy has zero credibility. Now, all of a sudden, every word he speaks is gospel because they don't like Trump. Listen, I don't like Trump either, but that doesn't mean I throw out my critical thinking skills. Critical stinking skills. Okay, that sounded weird. Critical thinking skills. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that because they feel like, ooh, this is juicy and I can burn Trump with it, so let me use it. But you have to, at the very least, be agnostic about what he's saying here. I'm not saying you have to take the position that everything John Bolton is saying is BS, although I got to be honest with you guys, I lean in the direction of thinking it's probably BS. But at the very least, you have to be agnostic because he's a goddamn war criminal and he's not trustworthy. He's not demonstrated a single reason for us to believe that what he's saying is true. He's most known for lying. He was one of the people that lied us into the Iraq War. He obviously has no principled stance against lying. He loves lying. He's a psychopathic war criminal liar. So let's get that out of the way. Now, again, I want to go one by one through these claims here, but the idea that Bolton is trying to burn Trump because Trump said it would be cool to invade Venezuela, one of the reasons I don't believe that is because John Bolton wants to invade Venezuela. John Bolton also wants to invade Iran. He's on the record as taking these positions. So now all of a sudden, when he's no longer part of the administration, he's going to write a tell-all book where he says, and I can't believe Trump said that it would be cool to invade Venezuela. What are you talking about? If he said that, you would have been cheering him on. You would have been behind the scenes like, that's exactly what I want to do. Yes, Mr. President, let's go do that. Let's go do that right this second. So, even his own beliefs here, even if Trump is nominally expressing Bolton's own beliefs here, Bolton is going to use that to try to burn Trump? No. That makes absolutely no sense. And the idea that Trump said, oh, Venezuela is really part of the United States, I don't think that he said that. And it seems really hyperbolic, and it's almost so stupid that it's a parody of what somebody would think Trump would say. And Bolton is just kind of feeding into that narrative. Then he says, Bolton says Trump kept confusing the current and former presidents of Afghanistan while asking Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to help him strike a deal with Iran. By the way, even if he did that one, why is that so, you're the president of the United States. There's over 100 countries in the world, probably, maybe even over 200 or just under 200 countries in the world. You're not going to remember all of their names. Now, the fact that he confused the current one and the former one, guys, I've done that. I've done that multiple times on this show when I'm covering a story and I bring up, I usually did it with Iraq. I would bring up the name of the prime minister, and I'm blanking on his name right now, the former prime minister, and that guy was already gone. And it's like, so he did that. I get it. He's the president. He's supposed to be more above that. But it seems like he's going out of his way to try to be like, aha, gotcha. It's like he's got a bone to pick with Trump. Then they say, Trump told Xi that Americans were clamoring for him to change the constitutional rules to serve more than 2 terms, according to the book. I could see Trump saying something like that, but at the same time, I don't know if he would actually do it. Like, this is just classic Trump of trying to act like, you know, oh, people love me, I'm so amazing, I'm so tremendous. And maybe he saw a couple tweets at him that were like, Mr. President, I wish you could serve, 5 terms, sir. Or that, or he's just making it up in his own mind, because sometimes he does that for narcissistic reasons. Trump makes up a lot of stuff. And then when he describes the meeting in New Jersey where Trump says journalists should be jailed so they have to divulge their sources, quote, these people should be executed. They are scumbags, Trump said, according to Bolton's account. If John Bolton was so convinced that Trump is this, like, fascist authoritarian who would kill journalists, then wouldn't John Bolton not write a book where he's shitting on Trump throughout the entire book because he would fear for his own safety? This idea of like, oh my God, he's so unhinged, and he said he wants to kill journalists and that they're scumbags. Oh my God. Well, then wouldn't you be scared to release this book where you're going after Trump relentlessly? It seems like you release the book and you know that there's not going to be too many consequences, certainly not consequences where you're physically in danger. Now, it is the case that the Department of Justice is trying to stop the book from being sold, and what they're claiming is, he's releasing classified information. So we can't let him say this stuff because he's releasing classified information. Trump kind of gives away a little bit of his hand there, though, because when you make that argument, that implies that a lot of the stuff that Bolton is saying is true. If you say, oh man, this is, this is top secret classified stuff and you're releasing it, you're not allowed to do that, that's illegal. Well, then there's an admission that the stuff in there is actually happened and is real. So he didn't really, in typical Trump fashion, he didn't really think through, why he would do this, but he doesn't want to be embarrassed. So he's just like, hey, let's stop this thing. But listen, I'm principled when it comes to this issue of transparency. I think John Bolton should be able to write the book if he wants to write the book. I just won't believe the overwhelming majority of the claims that he makes because John Bolton is a notorious liar. So in summation, and I got another story with other claims because the claims are so bombastic that you have to talk about them. But my position on this overall is that I kind of default to thinking that Bolton is lying in most instances because he's a notorious liar. However, there probably are little bits and pieces of truth or like half-truths in there, and you got to you have to try to like parse through it and go point for point. But I think anybody who's swallowing this thing whole, anybody who's looking at this and going, yeah, I'm sure every word of it is true, I think you're such a sucker, and you have basically Trump derangement syndrome in the same way that people during the Obama era had Obama derangement syndrome, where there's nothing he could do that they would give him credit for. When Obama was doing conservative policies, the conservatives weren't like, hey, we agree. They were like, now I'm against that. Because they're stupid and they have Obama derangement syndrome. People who take every claim in this book like it's gospel, they have Trump derangement syndrome. Because a lot of this stuff is so bombastic and so over the top, I simply don't believe it. Little bits and pieces I do believe, but again, you got to go issue for issue. And there are few people in this world who I trust less than Trump, but John Bolton is definitely one of those people.